Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Purls and Pyrs podcast. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine, on Ravelry, Instagram, Pinterest, all the social medias for now. I'm very annoyed at this moment with everything. I'm annoyed with everything. Also, I can't get my camera straight, so you're kind of off to a jaunty angle, and I'm tired of messing with it. So whatever, we're just going to go with it because I have limited time to record before the boys are back from jiu-jitsu, so I need to get this on the road. So for returning viewers, thanks so much for coming back. And for new viewers, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you checking me out. So I think it's been 2 weeks. That's usually how it goes because I end up like editing the previous podcast the following weekend and then I record one the next week. So it kind of works out to do bi-weekly. But if you are an Instagram follower and we chat with one another, I am very concerned about the updates to the terms of service where basically they're going to be able to data mine direct messages. So I'm trying to figure out what to do there because there's not a lot of choices. Obviously, they're going to also data mine email, etc. So for a couple people, I've kind of switched to texts. I don't know what to do for my international friends. I'm still figuring that out. But I guess we have a little bit of time. Maybe I just have to go back to writing letters and we'll just be pen pals, or I'll be your pen pal and you won't write me back. I don't know. I used to write letters. I had a pen pal in Tasmania when I was a kid that we used to write back and forth really long letters. So maybe we go back to that. I don't know. Till the USPS goes out of business and we have no way to contact the outside world as we slowly descend into fascism. Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, I've been knitting, which is great. And I have one finished object, one half finished object. I'm just making sure I have them around me. A Sword of Tale of Woe new cast on, and a soon to be cast on, but I haven't done it yet purely because I'm trying to work on the other new cast on. So let's get into it so I can stop spiraling into doom. So my main finished object is this, the Sime Tempestosa, and you don't ever have to hear me say that again, except for maybe when I'm wearing it on the podcast. But I finished this. I have two tiny little nuggets about that big of the main color, which was Love Pyramus. The mohair I have a lot more. It was Emeraldite. They're both Plies and Hellhounds yarn. The Love Pyramus was on the Isaac base, which is Superwash Polworth. And the Emeraldite is on the Fig Lace base, which is a mohair blend. So, just to prove it, whee! And it has short sleeves. It is perfect for the weather right now. Today it's actually going to be 72 degrees, but then it's going to drop right back down again. So I met Gabby yesterday for coffee. We went to a place called Clicolo in Middletown, and it was really good. We're trying to trade off finding local coffee shops, which has been really nice because I don't want to go to Starbucks, which is what we were doing before, but it's been good because we found a lot of cool, interesting coffee shops. So we went to one called Not a Phase, which was also really good. There was one that had something like lavender and bees in it. I know that's not helpful. I'll look it up and put a little McThinger. That one was in, it's just across the bridge, Worthington. That's wrong. I always say that, but that's Ohio. That's the subdivision of Dublin in Ohio. But it's really close to that. Oh, God. Just stop, Nina. Just stop. You don't know. Anyway, that one was cute too. And then there's a coffee shop in Glastonbury that's really nice as well that we went to. And it's right next to the yarn store, Village Wool. Cute, cute. So anyway, the details. I knit it on a size 5 needle. This was a 3mm needle, which I think is like a 2.5 US, but there's also a different 2.5 US. Anyway, 3mm for the cuff, bottom, and the neck. I did not do the lace on the bottom here or on the sleeve. That's what the pattern calls for, of repeating this lace motif at the bottom of the sleeve and at the bottom of the hem. I didn't want to do that, so I didn't. I added waist shaping, though I really could have added more. And I kind of wish I did, but I'm also not going to rip it back. I forgot that helical knitting even existed. I think I've knit so many striped garments over the last year that I haven't knit something with 2 skeins of the same color. So I forgot you could do it. So I do have a visible seam-ish. It's right there. It made sense to do it, in the lace, to do alternating the skeins and have that. But then when I got to the body, I just forgot. So I just was carrying up the other color. And then round about right here, I was watching the Charm City Unicorns podcast, and they were talking about helical knitting, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot that even existed. I used to do it on everything. Why am I not doing that? So I started doing it. Pro tip, you use slightly less yarn if you helical knit. So I probably could have made my sleeves a little bit longer, but I also kind of like the length they are, so maybe it's fine. I'll try it on over this t-shirt, but it's gonna not be the best view because, it's bright pink underneath and it doesn't have the best neckline for playing around with. Yeah. So there we go. That is it in all its glory. So I really love the colorway. It looks like pistachio gelato is what it reminds me of. This lace is so nice. It's so pretty. I really love it. Yeah, so I worn it to work and I wore it to coffee the other day. So I've only worn it twice so far, but I definitely think it will become a bigger part of my wardrobe because it's a really good transition piece because it's warm without being too much. So I think it'd be a really good fall and spring, though I'm kind of finishing it at more of the tail end of spring here. So anyway, highly recommend. I definitely will be making more knitting for breakfast patterns. I actually have one that I have all the yarn for and I just need to wind it up. It's the Byzantine tee, and I do think I'm going to cast that one on really, really soon. I'm going to work it all in tweeds because I have the tweeds from Gabby's, I think it was the Pandora based collection a couple of years ago. It was the one where same time she came out with the Yugen colorway. But anyway, the Raxira and one other colorway I'm going to use for the yoke color work. And then I got some knit picks. I think it's Welly's Heather, but it's like a black or a very dark charcoal heather color. And I'm going to use that for the main body. So I'm kind of doing the colors that are in the sample from Knitting for Breakfast, but using what I have in my stash. So then I had this is my Tale of Woe / new cast on. Of course, it's mid-row. I'm going to chat with you while I finish the row, and then I will show it to you. So if you recall, and you checked out last episode, I had cast on a garter marler sweater for my husband, Josh. And he doesn't ask for sweaters very often, but he requested that I make him a cardigan that buttons all the way up because he loves to wear his cardigan outside in place of a jacket. And I had made him a Gramps sweater back in 2019 for family photos, and he has worn that thing nonstop ever since. Like, that is his main thing he wears. He wears it layering under his coat. He wears it all spring, all fall, whatever. He's great about wearing his knitwear. But he said that when he's layering it in more deep winter, I guess, let me dismiss that. When he's wearing it in more deep winter, the big shawl collar that is on the Gramps cardigan kind of is difficult to dress it to go under his coat and lay nicely. So he said, really what I want is this same sweater. The fit's great, the thickness is great, but I want it to button all the way up my neck. And so I said, okay, I'm going to look for something, but I knew the Gramps cardigan, I didn't want to modify it. I wasn't interested in making a V-neck sweater be a crew neck sweater, and all the shaping that goes into a men's sweater. I tend to try to pick sweaters designed by people who have kind of similar body types to him, because then I know that they're going to make it big enough. So I was like, okay, I'll pick a Stephen West pattern. And the problem was really the yarn. So I was doing the garter marler. I showed it a whole bunch on the last episode, and I had got down to, I'm trying to think where. I mean, I wasn't super far off from separating for the sleeves based on how much yarn I had already eaten through. And I was knitting it on a size 7 needle, and I was using this yarn, Knit Picks Provincial Tweed, which is supposed to be a worsted weight yarn. And I was like, man, it seems kind of thin, but I did a gauge swatch, and I was like, it'll be fine. It'll puff up a little bit, whatever. So then as I'm knitting it, I'm looking at it and going, it just seems really loose. Like, the gauge looks really loose. And like, I held it up to the light and I could see through it. And I'm like, this is not what Josh wanted. He's not going to be happy with this. And I'd rather stop now before I get halfway through a men's giant cardigan and then he tries it on and it's like, you know. So I ripped it out and I was like, I'm just going to look at Tin Can Knits because obviously he really loves the Gramps. Tin Can Knits has a great collection of patterns. I'm like, surely they have something that's already a normal classic cardigan shape. They do, in fact, have something that is a normal classic cardigan shape. I think it's even called the Classic Cardigan. So it's in the Basics bundle, and it comes with 4 patterns. It's got a beanie, a pair of socks, a cardigan, and a pullover. And the pullover and the cardigan go from size newborn to 5XL, which I think is like a 70-something inch chest. It's a very big size range. And they're written for 3 different weights of yarn. So you can do worsted, DK, or fingering sport weight. And that whole bundle is not that expensive for how much you get. That's like a lot. So anyway, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this classic cardigan. And then I had to figure out the weight of this yarn. So let me just get it out so you can look at it. Because I was like, there is no way at all that this is a worsted weight yarn. So here is the yarn. it is not a worsted weight. Here's a Malabrigo DK weight yarn. Let's just get them side by side here. See, it looks a little bit thinner than that DK weight yarn. I was like, I think it's a sport weight yarn. This is a sport. Let's see if I can get like just one ply out here. This is really hard to show. Yeah, you get the idea. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just swatch it as though it's a sport weight, sport fingering. And so I did. I swatched it on a size 5 needle, and I got exactly the gauge called for in the pattern. So like, okay, I guess it's a sport weight, and I'm gonna knit it like a sport weight. Thank goodness I got a crap ton of this yarn for a blanket. So after I gauge swatched and everything, now I barely have enough to do it at that gauge. So I had to unravel my gauge swatch. But it doesn't seem like this yarn has a lot of memory because I had already unraveled it from the first attempt at the sweater. This is unraveled yarn. It's not in any way kinked up or anything, so it just doesn't have a lot of memory to it. Which is another reason why I think knitting it at a very tight gauge is probably a good choice. It's not drapey or anything. I believe it is a superwash wool with nylon. I think that's it. I don't think it's like anything weird. It's really soft. It's nice. It has good little tweedy flecks. Yeah, it just, I don't know. It just is not what they advertise it as. So if you're going to get knit picks for provincial tweed, know that it is no way a worsted weight. So I cast it back on. I'm knitting the size 2XL, which I think is a 52-inch chest or something like that. I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 52. Josh's chest is a 46.5, so I think it should be fine. And I can always make the button band a little bigger if I need to, but right now he's put it on and it is fitting really nicely and kind of coming to about right there, which is perfect size for a button band given that he wants bigger buttons. So here we go. This is how far I am now on the updated sweater for Josh. So one thing I thought was interesting is that on this pattern, when you are working the short rows, this is huge on me, but just bear with me. You're working the short rows. You are also doing raglan increases, and you're doing the short rows for a really long time. So like, there's probably this much of the back of this sweater that is short rows to get to the front here. I think there was like 20 rows of short rows, not like 4 or 6 or anything like that. It's a lot. But you're also doing your increases at the same time. So it does sit very nicely, and especially for him because like his upper back is really muscular. It gives extra space for that to be. Now, I do really like the fabric. I think it's a more dense fabric, so I think it's going to be warmer. So yeah, this is on a 40-inch cable right now. So that's kind of giving you an idea. I think I'm on the 12th repeat now of the raglan increases. I need to do 21 2-row increases, and then I'm switching to where you're only increasing on the front and back, not the sleeves. And I can't remember how many of those you need to do. Not a ton though. Yeah, so my hope is maybe by the end of the long weekend, because I have off Good Friday and Monday for work, that I can get to where I have separated for the sleeves. And then I think I might work a sleeve before I work the body, because I want to have an idea of if I need to order another skein of this or not. Knit Picks does still carry it. It's just the gray colorway. So I checked, they still have it. And if I needed to get more, I would want to order it sooner rather than later, just to be safe. According to the pattern, I think I'm 150 yards short. However, I know that Tin Can Knits patterns have a lot of safety yardage built in. So I'm probably fine, but I think once I make a sleeve, I can then back into, well, how much does it take to make one of the sleeves? You know, we can go from there. I think probably 1 or 2 skeins for a sleeve is what I'm thinking. But he does want pockets, so I could always use the extra skein just to do the pockets, because they could be a little bit off from the rest, and that would be okay. So yeah, that is the classic cardigan by Tin Can Knits out of Provincial Tweed in gray. Then I have also worked a little bit on, oh yeah, these are kind of my Tale of Woe also. These are my Taylor Swift Eras socks. I don't know what I did, but at one point, apparently, when I was knitting these, I increased a stitch and dropped it. And then I kept knitting. You can see it right there. Because it doesn't exist up here in the pink. So there's 1, 2 places for it to go, and then it just disappears. So I think I'm going to take a little crochet hook, boop, 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 it up, and then like put some yarn in there and tack it down. I noticed it when I was wearing them. I looked down and I'm like, whoa, what's going on there? And then I'm looking closer at it and I'm like, oh, you clearly dropped the stitch and just kept knitting the whole rest of the sock, and it stayed put. So, I don't know. So anyway, that's why those are up there. I can't wear them again until I fix that, because it will become a much larger problem. Right now it's not too big a problem. And then I finished the first sock of this pair. So this is Cascade Yarns Heritage Prints. And then I used a mini that I got from my friend Sue in the advent that she sent to me last year, but I think it coordinates very nicely with that lime green color. So I did I cast on for the second sock yet? No, I didn't cast on for the second sock yet. I wound off the ball. Yeah, because I have to start with the, turquoise. So I wound off a little ball so I could do that. This is how much I have of the lime green. So I didn't think I had enough for also a toe. So I just went with only the heel. And I also snagged this one out of the advent to go as a heel for these when I get to the heel. I think that'll be, I don't know. It's not as bright of a green, but I don't know that I can match that green any better. So as long as I'm not on a green stripe, I think it will be fine. So I just have to be careful with where I end to get to my heel. But it's fine. So I need to cast on that other one. Probably will do that in the car today, because these are my car knitting when we go to Costco. And then I think what I'm going to do is resurrect this whip, which I was cooking along on, and then it got towards Rhinebeck time last year, and so I paused this so I could complete my Rhinebeck sweater, and then I never went back to it because then it was too cold. But But this is the Sunday Swirl Tank by Jessie Made Designs. And it was really fun to knit. Like, once you get into it, this is a very easily memorizable pattern. I just have the one page of it in this little, whatever, pattern keeper. So I need to figure out which row I'm on again, so I can do it. I don't think I have a ton of length left to do for it. It has a high-low split hem, and then I need to come back and do like the armhole facings. Is that what those are called? But basically it has ribbing on the armholes and on the neckline as well. So I need to do that. But yeah, I think I want it to be, you know, just a bit longer. So yeah, that is knit out of, what is this yarn? Cool cotton, I think. Uh-oh, sorry, Eda. Dropped it on her face. Yeah, James C. Brett Cool Cotton, which I believe is a British yarn. It's a 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. And it's discontinued anyway, but it is nice yarn. So I had a lot of this. Yes, so it's a, it says made for James C. Brett, Clyde Street, Bingley, West Yorkshire. So I had this color, and then I had a gray. Not sure where the gray is. I was making a minty tee originally, and I ripped it out to do Sunday Swirl. So I need to finish that one. Because I think I'm not too far off, like I said, from being done. I've got two more skeins plus this left. So I should have plenty to do the length that I want to do. It's a very green episode today. And then cast-ons, new cast-ons. So I want to cast on the Avondale tee. And it is by Tammy Gore. Is that the only pattern picture it has? Very tiny. Yeah, okay. So it's basically a V-neck tee with this really pretty lace detail down the side. I heard about it from the Charm City Unicorns podcast when they were talking about their tee along, and I was like, oh, this is really pretty. And I love a V-neck. I don't like the neckline in the pattern because they leave it unfinished, and I don't know, I just don't love that look. But lots of people have just gone in and picked up a little tiny neckband, you know, and done a little bit of ribbing and a center double decrease in the middle. So I think that's what I'm going to do as well. There's plenty of people that have written out like how many stitches they picked up or the ratio they picked it up. So it should be very, very easy to modify. What I am making it out of is this yarn. And I so sweetly gave myself a gigantic gauge swatch because I'm ripping this out. This is a different pattern that I don't remember. Feels Right tee, I think. I think it's the Feels Right tee. But I didn't love how giant the armholes were on this tee. Now, if it's a tank top, I get it. Like, bigger armholes make a little more sense because you're trying to be cool. But for a tee, I like them to be kind of, you know, up where they're supposed to be and not down here where they're going to show my bra line. Like, that's how far down the armholes were on this. So I think just the grading for it, for the larger bust sizes, didn't make a lot of sense. So anyway, I might revisit the pattern in the tank top version, but it was not working for me. So this is the yarn I'm going to use, though. This is the Indusworm colorway from Pyrs and Hellhounds. It's on, I think, the Lucent base. It's the one that has some silk in it. Pretty sure it's on that base. Because some of my other ones from the Folklore collection are on that base. I really love this pink. It's so pretty. So I think it's going to be really pretty in kind of that delicate lacy tee. And it would look really good with, I have a taupe colored linen skirt that's kind of long with buttons in the front and pockets, and it's going to be cute. So that's the outfit I imagine wearing. There was a fur on it, and now it's my nose. So I will unravel this, but I did not. So what I did is I just cut it off of there because I'm going to need to rewash because I went really far on that tank. So this is what I unraveled, but I'm going to have to reskein and wash this yarn. So I thought, well, I'll just get started. So I just cut those off of the main skeins. So I have 2 skeins of it, and these have not been knitted up. So I won't need to worry about weird gauge issues. And then when I get through these, I will have skeined and washed the other stuff by then. So it'll be fine. And maybe I'll be able to use those smaller ones for the little cap sleeves that are supposed to be on it. So that is my plan for casting on. There's also a cardigan that I found because I was originally going to do the Wild Ivy pattern, or I was talking about it with the in bulk yarn that I have, but I really want to make the Wild Ivy in this kind of burgundy color I have. So I'm not going to do it. I don't think I would want to knit the same pattern twice. So I'm going to do the Lyrebird cardigan out of this. So it's kind of an all-over lace with bell sleeves and some little bobbles. And I think it'll be, the lace reminds me of the Semi-Tempestosa that I just finished, but all over. And I think this would be a really pretty neutral cardigan color, even though it is kind of a dusty rose. I think it would be really good for just kind of going with everything, go well with jeans and black and taupe and just all the colors. So that's what I think the plan for this is. Don't know when I'm going to cast it on, but I at least have a plan for it. I also have cleared out enough space that I could kind of reorganize my Plies and Hellhound stash, so I was able to move over some yarn that I had purchased at Indian Tangled last year into the cubby for Plies and Hellhounds. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. In terms of my reading journal, I need to work on that this weekend as well, because I only did through May. So I need to build my layouts for June through the end of the year, or at least like another 4 months. But I'm thinking I'm going to do the June one here. Then I'm going to do a mid-year spread just with like, I think I'm going to do a bookshelf and color in all the books I've done or that I've read so far in the year. And then the other side, I've got this really pretty postcard that is the Tortured Poets Society from when I ordered the Taylor Swift themed yarn. The Tortured Poets Department. And I just like the imagery of it. So I thought that would be pretty to do on the other side and kind of make it like black and white, a mid-year spread. And then I would do July through the end of the year. So that's my thought on what I'm going to do with my reading journal. So I need to get that done over this long weekend because journaling is a whole thing. You have to pull everything out and it's a huge mess. For a couple hours, and then you got to pack it all back in and put it away. So yeah, I think that with this weekend I have more time to do that kind of a thing. So yeah, I finished my January. My February, I've not picked my poem yet, so I usually do my books on one side and a poem on the other side. I have not put one in there yet for February. March I just finished, so it's my cute little March. I love this little guy. And of course, a Nikita Gill poem, because I love Nikita Gill's poetry. Really good. Yeah. And in April, I've finished one book so far. One little book. So what I've been reading is Alessa Thorne. Now I've gone into a side series, but it all starts with Kiss of the Blood Prince. And it's a whole thing, like contiguous world building, and like all of the characters interact with each other. So you see the other characters in later books. They each get their own book. It is like this year's Ice Planet Barbarians for me, and I love it. I'd been looking for a series like that where I could just keep reading and it would build off of itself. Because I think that's the thing about Ice Planet Barbarians that I really liked, is that like you see the couples, but they don't just go away when you're done reading their story. They're still part of the world, and the world continues to build and change. And there's still things that are impacting everyone. So like you're kind of getting to meet the whole community. So this is happening with the characters in this book. So basically it's the Fae were cut off from the human world for a long time. And they finally are able to break through, and they're mad. They're big mad. And so they're coming to take their revenge on the humans that ensorcelled them and trapped them in Fairy and broke the gates between the two realms. And the pantheon of gods gets involved. The Fae are involved. There's dragons. There's shifters. There's everything that you can think of. Everything. And it's really good. So yeah. Those are the books I've been reading. So let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm reading the 13th one. I think there's like 17 books so far. I don't know if she's still writing this series or if it's a complete series at this point. But it's nice. If you're looking for that kind of potato chippy but Ice Planet Barbarian kind of feel, Alessa Thorne is your gal, and this is a really good series. So yeah, Kiss of the Blood Prince is the first one. Highly recommend. Yeah, that's basically all I've read. That's what I read the entire month, because they're about 250 to 300 pages each, which I think of as like, that's about what I can read in a day or so. Or a couple days. I'm not reading a book a day at this point. I'm not. I'm working too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I read 13 books in March. I think that's roughly what I've been reading every month. Yeah, I read 13 in February. I only read 9 in January. But January was very busy, and I also read a very long one. So that If You Don't Love Me, We Both Die was like 600 pages. It was a chunker. C.M. Stunich's books tend to be chonkers. And I read 3 of them that month. So that's why. But yeah, it's good stuff. So I think I'm going to leave you guys there and go do other things because I need to reorganize my craft room. Hubble is hitting the glass and peeling off the paint on the, windowsill from trying to get to birds and other things outside. So I'm going to rearrange this room and move my bench thing that my husband built for me over in front of the window. I made like cushions for it. So I'm going to move that over in front of the window. But then I have to slide the treadle sewing machine over and kind of rearrange the chair. I don't know if the chair is going to stay where it is or if it'll move in the corner. I just have to see how it all looks. it's a complete reimagining of this room, and it's basically been more or less the way it is since we moved in. I mean, we put the treadle sewing machine in, but I had a desk there before, so it wasn't really that much of a change. The big change was moving the chair over out of this corner because I have to move it every year for the Christmas tree, and it kind of felt stupid to keep doing that. And now if Josh sits down, I can look at him while he's sitting there. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to go. And I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope you get to spend time doing some things that you love. Make sure to check if you are registered to vote if you live in the US, because primary season is a starting, and we all need to get out and vote like our lives depend on it, because they probably do. So, yeah, until next time, I wish all the best for you, and I will see you soon. Bye. People that care, I thought I would take a little video of where things are at with our greenhouse. So, here it is. And it's got this little window that has a temperature controlled thing that lets it open and close based on how warm it is inside. It's like a wax that melts at a certain point, so then it slowly raises the window. I've just opened this other window, but that closes and latches. So anyway, Josh added this little thing because it didn't have anything to hook it down. So then the window could just like flop back and hit if it was windy. I'm gonna go, let's see if I can go back one. Yes, okay. That's probably a better view. Okay, so over here we've got all of our squashes that have been up potted. So this year we're growing Connecticut field pumpkins, Long Island cheese, and Waltham butternuts, and what is it called? An acorn squash. I don't remember the variety, but acorn squashes and pumpkins can cross-pollinate, and then butternut squashes can cross-pollinate. These are garlic chive seeds that Josh collected from around our trees. So there's baby chives in there. Sorry, we have a fan going so it can circulate the air. Some seeds from, I think, wildflowers, and then milkweed pods that I gathered from some milkweed that grows like along the road near my work. Under the lights are our tomato plants. So we're growing, I think, 6 varieties of tomatoes this year. So Chadwick Cherry, Gardener's Delight, Pear Blend. So we selected the red and yellow seeds separately, so we're going to see if the color of the seeds kind of makes the tomato be different colors. Costotto Genovese, a brandy wine, and I renamed the other one Genuine. Again, we were selecting red and yellow seeds to see if they make different colored tomatoes. It was a mix. We're just curious. A beefsteak and an ox heart. So right now there's 2 or 3 in each one, and we're gonna, separate them when we up pot. Then over here is all of our cucumbers. So we're growing Minnesota midgets. Can't even read that anymore. Some pickling cucumbers, some English cucumbers, some what I call Macklemores, but I think they're Marklemore. I don't know. I renamed all of the varieties in my own head. And then over here are all of our pawpaws, saplings that we brought in for safety. And I think there's some pecans in here as well. These are some new pawpaws too that we got from Raintree. One of them arrived completely snapped off, except for one little bit that was connected. So we did get a refund on that, but Josh is trying to use some of the tree tape to see if it can, heal itself. And then this guy is our quince from last year that we went out to look at it in the springtime, and it was like really easy to shake, and apparently something was eating its roots. So it has very little roots, but we put some rooting compound on it and hopefully it'll be okay because it has lots of buds. It's getting ready to leaf out. So we're hoping if we keep it in here with the rooting compound and give it like a year of just being a potted tree, that maybe then it will get a strong enough root base that we can try to put it out again and see how it goes. We had these little things that we used for when the seedlings were really little. They're like humidity domes, and they have little things you can dial to open or close them. So those are reusable every year, along with our trays and little seed things. Like these are really thick plastic versus, you know, kind of the ones you get at gardening centers are real wimpy plastic. And these are real nice ones. And we have our tree protector things. These are pickle jars that Josh saved to use as like little cloches for our squash, but I don't think we're going to need them. So we're just going to use them as uppotting pots. We have a trash can full of water, which was to help like maintain this temperature, stabilizing it in the wintertime. And we had like aquarium heaters in it to make it warm. It's kind of just sitting there now. We're not really using it, and we probably could get rid of it. This is going to be a vent, but right now we still have it closed off because it gets really cold still at night. But normally it's open and there's like a vent so that air can flow through. That is our mostly dead rosemary. We don't think it's going to recover, but we'll see. And up on the top, we had other herbs that we tried to overwinter. They did not make it. So we're going to see what we can do there. We keep like these pans have onions and lettuce starts in them. You can kind of see the little onions up here in this one. But we just pulled them down to water them and they'll go outside soon. So that is kind of the greenhouse. And right now, before I opened the window, it was 100 degrees in here and it's gone down to like 95. So hopefully it will cool off more. But it's pretty toasty in here right now, and it's only 70 degrees. Whew. I'm really sweaty. It's very nice outside today. And I also have on snow boots because they were the quickest thing to put on, but my cheeks got really red just to that little time being there. Yeah, so that's what's going on in the greenhouse, and hopefully we will have a very successful garden year this year.